Don't move. Turn your fantasy football into reality. Here's CJ.
Hey, welcome back. I'm CJ. Hello again. How's your season going? Well, to be honest, mine hasn't been as good as I would have expected or liked it to be. I bit off more than I can chew. I've had a few people ask me recently, what do you mean by that? Like, how many teams do you have? And I said 11. And they kind of snickered at me. I don't know how many teams you have. I have 11, and that for me is too many. I find it hard to manage them all properly. I thought it would be okay because I picked up some rebuilds in the off season, partnered up with some buddies, and I didn't expect them to take as much time as they have, during the regular season. I knew the off season I'd be busy, but with the regular season, I didn't really expect it to be, such a problem. And the reason is I like to fiddle and I can't just leave a team. I was thinking that some of these rebuilds would just be like sort of set and forget, a few adjustments here and there and kind of leave them alone. But man, I was wrong. I just don't have it in me not to fiddle around. So I have 11 teams, which is too distracting. And it's a lot of fiddling for a fiddler. I found my magic number is 7. If I have 7 teams, as I have in the past, that's always been my max. I'm usually in the playoffs 6 times. I'm in the final 3 or 4 of those. I'm winning a couple of championships. My winning percentage is up around 70, 75%. I don't know about you. What's your number? I did ask this question to some other friends, and one guy said 35. Yeah, that's a 3 and a 5 together. Whoa, another said 24. 3 or 4 people I know are in that 15 range. And they all say pretty much the same thing, that having more teams doesn't help the winning percentage. Sometimes it's more fun, but that's about it. But here's the thing, no matter what kind of league you're in, they are all time consuming, whether it's 1 or 10 or 20. So if you don't have the time to spend on the leagues properly, then probably it's time to cut back. You shouldn't be in them. Hate to say that. Another issue, we all tend to have our favorite players. So when we have multiple teams, we usually stock up on the same guys. So what that means is one for all for one. You lose one, you lose them all. Maybe not quite that dramatic, but you get the idea. What can we do to fix this? Our issues, or my issues anyway, without leaving any leagues. How can I fix this and dedicate more time to it? Because let's face it, if I have 10 teams and 5 are struggling, I'm more likely to spend most of my time on the winners, making sure they stay on top, ignoring the lesser teams. And once you realize you have an issue, though, at least in my case, these are some things you can do to kind of solve it. And you've heard me talk about this before. Here, excuse me just a second, but pen and paper. That works for me. I cannot stand looking at the app. I write down my choices to see who's available to play. I make smart decisions that way, right? Or smarter decisions that way, okay? So what I'll do is I'll write down my lineup from last week. I'll scratch out the ones I'm either not going to play, the ones that got hurt, or the ones on bye. I'll write down my bench and I'll just slide them in. I don't look at the app, because if I look at the app starts predicting the points each week, and it influences my decision making, and I don't like that. I like to play my guys, the guys I trust, the guys I've been watching, and the guys I know how they're playing, and I see the drop balls and things like that. The app doesn't predict touchdowns. It doesn't see these things that have happened. They just run an average, So I watch these guys every week, and I come up with my own tendencies for players, and the app doesn't do that, and that's why I like to do it myself. Make my own choice, go with my gut, make less mistakes. All right, maybe not. As far as mistakes are concerned, you have too many teams or aren't spending the proper time on them when these 5 things start happening. So here we are, the 5 warning signs that I have too many teams. Number 1, I forget to set a lineup. I never do that, and I did that last week. Number 2, it's Monday night. My starting running back is out, and I don't have a replacement, and I used him in the RB spot instead of a flex spot, so I have absolutely no replacement, and I'm playing one guy short, and I didn't have the handcuff. That's just dumb. Number 3, I left players on IR and lost out on waivers because the app froze my lineup. Totally unnecessary. Number 4, I'm constantly saying to myself, hey, when did that guy sign there? That's something I tend to take very personally. And number 5, all my teams are struggling. And not all of them, but the majority are, and I'm just not used to that. I do not like that feeling. So if these type of mistakes are starting to mount up and bother you, try this. Instead of looking at this, how do you, try this. Take my word for it. It will help. Remember, it only took me 32 minutes to adjust 11 teams, pen and paper. I timed it out. So, what's the worst it's going to take you, an hour? Just find a quiet place and do it. Take my word for it. This helps. Remember, you know what you're doing. You just got in a little over your head. And as smart as you are and as good as you are at fantasy football, you're also smart enough to realize the mistake and do something about it, which is why you're watching this. It's not too late. There's still lots of football left to go. So you can do it. I'll see you in the winner's circle. That's where I'm headed. Okay. Like and subscribe. Send me messages. I love fantasy football. I just keep telling myself that. I'm CJ. This is the Dirty Landry Experience.